example.
We're where it's at, right?
That's right. One pandemic party.
So are you guys all the fun kids in school and I've been missing out this whole time?
I'll have an office when I move into my new house in 2 weeks.
We have some corrupt audio.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you, Michael. It was all choppy. With the time change, the sun is all different places. So it's keep having to move.
Welcome, Jerry.
Good afternoon. How are you? How's everyone?
Good, great.
Good.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just saying to my husband how much I'm missing being at the Arms and having beef stew, because that's usually what I do.
Is it?
Oh, they make a fantastic beef stew there. Only for today.
So I'm seeing we have Antoinette is here and Alex.
Laura's here. I'm just finishing up my supper, so I haven't put my mic on yet, or my camera on yet.
Laura, excellent. Glad you could join us.
I'm just not sure who's in that, right?
Michelle, you're in space. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I set it up for a meeting the other day and I like loved it. So it's now my go-to. What do you think, Michael? Not sure?
It's very ethereal. That's what I would call it.
Yeah, it's fun. We can change our backgrounds depending on our mood, right? Or
Yeah, it was most definitely a joke when I first put it on, but now I actually really like it. So
Feels like a getaway.
And we have Jacob. Helene, she had mentioned that she is running a little late. She will join in. Jacob, did we receive any regrets?
I wanted to know, I don't believe so. I will double check, but I don't think that we did.
Okay, all right, good. So we're waiting for Nick, Christine.
Yes,
Cindy.
Nick had indicated to me he might be a little bit late, and he might not be able to present until closer to 6, but I believe we talked about that as well.
Okay, very good. So we can just shift that over. Anonymous is waiting. We'll have to screen this person. We have here. Good to have you back, Michael.
Yes, sorry. Being out in the country, my internet's just not good enough to all the bandwidth and video.
That's okay. Fiber optics is on the way, right?
I know, and I move in 2 weeks, so it should be good.
Excellent.
you guys can hear me, right? It's Cindy. I just can't get my camera working.
Oh, fantastic, Cindy. Glad you could join us.
I don't see my name there, but I can hear everything you're all saying.
Okay, good. I can hear you. Everyone else is good with Cindy's audio?
I
Yeah.
think Cindy was our anonymous.
It says Cindy V,
Oh.
so I'm not sure if she was our anonymous or not. Just so you know, there has been a lot of issues with Teams this week. Like we had an issue on Monday where it was like a global Teams network was down. And I've had really weird issues this week with it. So since Monday, like I was on all day Monday and then we had a call at 3:30 that would not work and there was a global issue. So we'll say it's them, not us.
I normally get it, no problem, but it keeps saying turn camera on and it won't do anything.
Yeah.
Cindy,
And I
you might
did my
just want to
hair and
check.
everything, so.
You might want to check if you have any other apps open that are using your
Oh.
camera, like if you have Zoom open or anything else, that
Okay,
other
let's see.
application will have the scope.
Okay, maybe,
exactly.
let's see.
Okay, good. And Svi, do we know if Chris will be joining us?
Oh, there
No,
we go.
actually, Chris is on vacation this week, so you got to put up just with me.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Oh, and we have Cindy. She's
Oh,
coming
there we go.
back.
Oh, there I am.
Hey.
Excellent. Well, I have 5:05. Is everyone ready to get started? And Jacob and I will just monitor and watch for Nick, Christine, and Helene as they join in. Okay. So, all right, let's get rolling. Ceremonial activities. Jacob Bursvey, do we have any ceremonial activities to get us rolling?
Not from my end, Wanda.
No, we're good to
Okay,
go.
very good. Perhaps I can acknowledge our ceremonial activity would be the acknowledgement of St. Patty's Day, everyone. So if you're not, haven't had a green beverage today or wearing green or however you celebrate, it's maybe the luck of the Irish will come our way. So happy St. Patty's Day. Excellent. Approval of the agenda or changes to the agenda. Michelle, I think you had a new item. You're on mute.
Which one? I wasn't sure if that second one you guys were okay with me bringing up or not.
Yes, I think it was bids and tenders or procurement.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, if I
Okay.
could add that, if that's okay, just to chat about real quick, and just see if we want to issue a statement or something, then that would be great.
Apps, can you capture that under other business? Maybe we can call it bids and. Svi, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. Michelle, was there anything else?
That was part of the communications thing, and then there was there was one thing, but Jacob clarified for me, so we don't need to discuss it. It was about meeting schedule for the rest of the year, but I think we've already agreed on that. So yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Any other requests for changes to the agenda?
Can I just
Seeing
say, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Just,
Yes,
I
Cindy.
just got an email today about Celebrate Ontario. I don't know if anybody else did and if it's worth a discussion or not.
Absolutely. We can put that under new business as well. Okay. Oh, Helene is joining us. Very good. No other items? Okay, we're on to item number 3, which is disclosure of pecuniary interests, which is your conflict of interest. Are we all here in good faith and there's no conflict of interest declared? Seeing none, we shall move forward to not number 4. We have Nick, who has not joined us yet, so we will move that down to a later time slot. Perhaps we can move that under other business, Jacob? And we'll move on to item number 5, approval of the meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read the meeting minutes? If so, we would be looking for a motion to accept the minutes. Michelle, motion to approve the minutes. I'd like to have a seconder, if I may. Okay. We have Chantal. And any other comments regarding the minutes? We'll move the motion forward. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 6, communications. Okay, this is the news release piece, and I know we have my name and Michelle's on this item. I think that we can also encourage Cindy to maybe participate in this discussion. We have quite a few new committee members, and perhaps Cindy, can you maybe offer us a background? You initiated a conversation a couple of meetings ago that started this directive for us to assemble this communication piece.
Well, you guys run with it first, because you guys run with it first. I wasn't here last week when you discussed it, so.
Okay. What I can add to the piece, and Michelle certainly feel free to jump in, and Zvi, is that we had a discussion regarding the need for to establish positive communication, change the dialogue, change the channel. Many of us represent a perspective of positive economic development, of stories, positive reinforcement. We also know that there might have been, so externally in the media, some of the coverage might not have represented the lens in which we would hope would be positive and attract people to our municipality. It was always covering challenges. There might have been some internal challenges as well. So this sparked the bigger conversation. And we had circulated a document which a few of us had contributed some positive quotes. Zvi, maybe I can ask you to jump in now. You had a look at that document, and we wanted that to complement the mandate of this committee and also the strategy in which we want to move forward with.
Yeah, happy to do that. So my recollection from in December, as you pointed out, Wanda, there was some negative coverage and certainly some negative discussion online about some of the things that were happening in the county. And at the time, there was a desire by TEDAB to send a letter to council with the proposal or a recommendation that TEDAB play somewhat of a public relations type role and share some of the positive things that are happening. So as you said, to turn the dial, reframe the discussion, and maybe inject some of the positivity, because there was a lot of negativity online trying to bring out the good things that are happening, and there are lots of good things. And so, and also maybe clarifying things that may not necessarily get out there and yet there's negativity around those things. I think what happened in the past week is a perfect example, with some misinformation that is put out there, and a lot of negativity comes out for something that is ultimately a very positive thing, right? Looking to grow a sector of our industry. So what I suggested last week, after having seen the original document, the original letter to council, I had suggested that I would look at it and introduce some of those things that are happening, at least from an economic development perspective, being that this is an economic development advisory board. Talk about some of the things that are happening from an economic development perspective and some of the changes and how we're looking at things differently. So that was underway. And I had sent a draft to, I believe, yourself, Wanda, and maybe Michelle was copied. And then the brand thing happened last week, where there was, again, a lot of negativity online about the tourism brand strategy, not even a brand, but really a brand strategy. And what I had said to you, we had a discussion, Wanda, we had at least one, maybe two calls on it. And we said we would bring it here and discuss how this board would like to move forward, whether it would still like to move forward, and whether there's a role to play there. I do think there's some role to play, certainly. But, you know, members of this board should discuss whether it is a board-wide initiative, whether it is individual members that would like to play a PR type role, and what that looks like, so as to ensure that the board itself is within the confines of being an advisory board to council, which ultimately is its role, and B, that there is not a negative impact on members of the board. That's something that I would like to avoid personally, because we want to keep getting high quality people on this board. And if ever there were a situation where you have a board that's trying to inject positivity in something where the momentum is negative, there might be attacks, quite frankly, on individual members of the board, right? And I don't want that. So I thought the best thing to do would be for us to have that discussion here and what that looks like, and whether that is still something that this board would like to move forward with, that kind of PR positivity type thing. I do think that there's still an opportunity, and I don't want to say there isn't. I do. I thought it would be best to have that discussion. And it looks like Michelle wants to jump in as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry. So I guess I can just go into a little bit of the other bit, that side of the other business item that I wanted to add. So I'm reconsidering a little bit of the direction we're going with this letter, just because I reached out to Zvi and I reached out to a couple different people at the county about the branding strategy and the lack of any kind of press release from the county or anything like that, which I found quite disappointing, and I think was a huge, if not the main factor of how everything kind of spiraled. But the response that I have received is that it was an intentional decision not to release anything. So I don't think that we're able to play any role if the decision is going to be not to release media releases, because we can't do anything. So I think that before we say we're going to, do things and we're going to talk for the county and we're going to, anything you guys need us to do, we want to do. I think we need to do that first step of saying, like, hey, we think this was a misstep to not release at least the simple fact that there was a rebranding effort going on. As a board, if everyone's in agreement, as a board, we believe that things like this is something that the county should be proactive about discussing before we even go into offering, to be the spoke, use this how you want. We can talk to these issues. We can act as your PR, because I personally know I'm not willing to volunteer my voice to an actively, when it's actively being discouraged to release communications, I guess, if that makes sense.
Agreed, Michelle. There's a strategy behind how this could benefit and be used. Cindy?
I guess my thing is, I mean, I saw all the social media on there too, and it was like, really? Is that what you guys think? But it's the naysayers on there, and we let the newspaper have the control. No offense to them, but of course they're trying to stir up some conversation, because I saw the one thing was your thoughts, that was it. And so it opened up the gamut where we need to put the thoughts into their heads that this is going to be an economic driver, that when you bring tourism, it brings multiple millions of dollars and it benefits your kids working. Like, we are the ones who need to tell the county to put the positive spin on this so that then nobody can dispute it. We're going to give them the facts. It's not just an emotional thing, or it's not, you know, a piece of fluff. This is our industry. So I think we need to hammer that home.
Thank you, Cindy. And I'd like to acknowledge and welcome our new council liaison, Councillor Chris Van Passen, who has his hand up. And welcome, Councillor, to our committee. You are next in line.
I said before, these are all the fun kids from school, right? That finally get to do the good stuff. I'm going to try to be quiet today, but sometimes because I'm really an observer today. I'm not officially a member of the committee as of yet. I think that will come at their next council meeting. But I would like to say that, like, I've been working on this for 2 years, that with our new communications team, trying to convince them that we need to write the news. Issue the press release before it happens. You know, you have it ready, you fill in the last little details, be the first one out there. It seems to me historically, we have been like 5 days late rebutting all the negative stuff rather than writing the story. And that's what we need to do. And they're getting there, that they're getting the same day or next morning. But we will get there. I think that's the intent. And of course, now we're losing Matt Terry in a few weeks again. So, just when we're starting to get them trained, they go off to some different job on us. But we have been working on it. But I know I had this chat with another committee. Committees of council. I think I described it. We always got to make sure we stay in our own lane. So, for a committee of council to be issuing press releases and things like that on its own, and then probably have to go to the staff member involved. I don't think that is sort of within the terms of reference. But what I'd love to do is sort of set up the little 30-second blip videos with each of the members and with the businesses, and use that as part of press releases, and be more active. And I don't look at Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on any of those things, but most people are. And it's nice to get those little blips of real people, real business people, and bragging about the county. And you just have that file full of those. And anytime you got a slow day when council didn't do anything wrong, you start slipping in some good stuff so that the news people have something to feed the community. So those are my comments, and I promise I'll try to be quiet through the rest of the meeting. So.
No, please don't promise that. What fantastic ideas. I captured them as well, Jacob. The concept of looking at 30-second videos for us to participate in. I see a few hands up. We have Svi, followed by Michael. Svi first, and then Michael.
Thanks, Wanda. So just I wanted to address Michelle's point. It's the first time I've heard that we purposefully did not put out a press release. I can tell you that the only information that I have that may fit in within that purposeful piece, and maybe Councillor Van Passen can answer this, or maybe it was from a previous council, I had actually approached Matt and said, hey, how come we don't get in front of these things even before we go to council? And I was told that council, and again, it might be a past council, but council had requested that press releases do not go out when it's a CIC event, right? So when it is council and committee, because we have a two-step process, we have council and committee approve a report, and then it goes to council the following week, which is how it should be done. It gives a week for the community to provide input, etc. That because of that, the request was, because something hasn't been approved yet, please don't put out a press release until the final approval gets given by council, because it may shift in that 1 week. And so that's why we don't put out press releases. But the problem is, in that intervening week, that's when the press has an opportunity to write the story, and then we're always playing catch up. So I don't know that there was an intentional, let's not let the community know about a procurement, or let's not let them know about a branding effort. It's more, in fact, we put out daily social media about, we're doing a rebranding, we'd like to get your comments. We had put out a questionnaire online, but in terms of the press release specifically, that's where, at least the direction that Matt was given, it's do not put out a press release.
Can I just speak back to that?
Thank you, Steve. We have Michael next.
Okay.
Michael?
Yeah, no, I think we covered it, and then just touching on Michelle's comment there. I think the strategy is what I didn't really see in social media. I just saw the negative comments. So with Michelle, what she said, I think we really, to me, it looked great, but the strategy wasn't really pressed into the media as it should be. So I mean, without us putting the release into the media doesn't know what we're trying to capture. So I see, touching on Michelle's, like, it's a problem, right? So.
Thank you, Michael. So Michelle, if you still have something you'd like to add, and then we have Helene.
Yeah, I just wanted to just say back to Zvi, sorry, Helene, I just want to go back to the comments. So that's exactly what I was talking about, Zvi. It was purposeful delay for a week, which, I mean, I understand not issuing an opinion press release, but purely something stating the actual facts, I think is, I mean, to me, that's a poor strategy. So like that, which is something that like should be revisited immediately. It's so clear that something like this would be controversial, like especially because there's imagery that's associated with it, that I think that like, if that is the standard, that's a standard that needs to be addressed immediately.
Good point. Helene?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what Michelle and sorry, Michael? Oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the person that
yes,
just
Michael. Yes, Michael.
Yes.
And this obviously falls into the hindsight 2020, and we can't really do anything about it now, but it is something that we can consider as learning kind of moving forward, is I feel like somehow this also ties back to just the fact that so many people in the community felt they didn't even know this was happening at all. They didn't know about the tender. They didn't know about the opportunity, all those things. And so I have to ask Zvi in specific, when we say that we didn't want to have the press release in relation to the result of the strategy work done by Cinnamon Toast and the, unfortunate example logo that everybody decided they hated. But just the fact that an agency was engaged to do this and announce the fact that, Norfolk County has decided that tourism is an important thing, and therefore we have, hooray, we have engaged, insert, whatever supplier is, to do this project. The goal of that project is X. The reason or the justification why we felt that the supplier we chose was the correct one to fulfill on that project was Y, and it doesn't. So to me, there's two levels of potential press releases that could have helped kind of at least maybe spread the rage over a longer period of time, where it was sort of, obviously even there's a third one that could have happened before we even picked the supplier, where it's sort of like this, we want to do this thing, there's an opportunity for you to be a vendor for it, so apply now. And then there's the middle road, which is, yay, we selected our vendor. This is what is, a lot more detail about what's happening, what they're going to be providing for us, and what you should expect out of this, which is a strategy, not a logo, and why it's about tourism and not about agriculture and blah, 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 blah. And then the third one being the, here is the result of that thing. So I think that's just kind of that added extra that we may just want to think about going forward, is taking the public along with us on the entire journey, because that will sort of allow us to sort of get them on board instead of, like, as it moves along, instead of it being sort of, we did this thing and we hope you don't hate it.
Yeah, so happy to respond if that's okay, Wanda.
Yes.
Yes, okay, perfect. So a couple of points. Number one, yes, correct 100% on all counts. I can't speak to how things were chosen because actually by the time I started the role, the vendor had been selected. So I kind of inherited the project. But that said, in my meeting with the Chamber of Commerce this morning, the BIA, we said that in the future, when opportunities arise, what our role will be is, first of all, we can always send a memo to council and hope councillors share that with their own constituents. But certainly we can let the chambers and the BIAs and the Board of Trade know that, hey, we're undertaking a project. If anyone would like to bid, here's the website. Norfolk County website has all those projects listed there. In terms of the medium piece, the inter-project one, also, again, I'm not defending anything. I do think that absolutely we could have done more. What we had done was I think we did 2 weeks worth of daily boosted social media saying, hey, we're working on the new brand strategy for tourism. Please come and answer this questionnaire. And they were like, we spent quite a bit of money boosting those social tweets, rather social posts. We find that press releases are maybe not as effective because when it's like a story like that, it's like, hey, here's something we're doing. The press is not necessarily picking it up. We do find socials more effective. However, for us, clearly the mark was missed on this one. So we don't want a repeat of this situation, and we want to be able to do better. So we just need to know what that line is, because what I can tell you is economic development is undertaking a lot, right? We're talking about one new platform, a second new platform. We've got new grant programs going on. We have an entrepreneurship grant and a brand new entrepreneurship center program underway. We have a new land inventory that we're building. There's a new business project inventory that we're doing with the Chamber of Commerce. There's oh my goodness, there's a growth plan that we're undertaking. There's so much, and a lot of that stuff will have consultants attached to it. So it's what is that line between letting the community, or rather inundating the community with stuff, and I find that social media is one good way to do it without really, if you do a press release on everything, you're just going to start being ignored. But that said, we obviously this time there was a lot of concern that people felt it came out of nowhere. I do feel that some of it was because people didn't know the actual facts, that there was no logo and it wasn't about the county, it was about tourism specifically. But the piece about the procurement, even that, I mean, we could have just made it more clear that, hey, there's an RFP out there, you should look. So all that to say that, I hope we can do more next time to advise the community, but we try to balance between inundating and advising.
Thank you, Zvi. Helene, and then we have Michelle.
This is more just a question in terms of the sort of how you approach the press release process, I guess, on the county end. And obviously you have limited resources and you have to pick and choose where you do this, but I'm just curious, on those press releases, do you actively contact the media and pitch them, or is it just kind of like put them out there and see who picks it up?
That would be a question for Matt. Honestly, Matt is our current director of communications, who is leaving on Friday and going to his next opportunity. But I do believe that the media department are, pretty media savvy and definitely advise the media.
Okay.
Very good. We have Michelle Van Passen.
Yeah, mine will be really quick. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't taken as I was saying this was anything to do with the economic development department, because like I know exactly how much work you guys are doing. I'm just saying this is a really clear symptom of a lack of being proactive in the communications department. It's something as simple as reviewing the council meeting minutes to see what might be a red flag and might need, you know, some social media post to clarify details or something as simple as that. That's where most of the stuff I see online and most of the things I see people get angry about, it's they see the council meetings come out, they gravitate towards one thing and then it becomes a big thing. But I just really hope you didn't take that as me saying it was an economic development thing, because like I definitely did not mean that.
No, not at all.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Van Passen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know how to say this right, but like the world is changing, technology is changing, society changing. We no longer have a press department. We have a communications department. Press releases are written for old fogies like me, and I want to read that the construction on the Causeway Bridge is going to start in such and such a date, and then I will crisply snap the page on my newspaper and read the next page. That's not how most communications go nowadays. Their phone beeps, they look at it, and it's got to be 140 characters or less, or it's got to be less than 20 seconds. It's all those things. And that's where I keep saying our communications department needs to do a better job getting the word out, but not issued on the one page with the little 30 number at the bottom. That's officially a press release. And okay, we can send that to, well, how many newspapers do we have left? But communications is a totally different thing. And that's, I think, where we got to work on. And again, that's where, we could get those little blips from members of this committee that, we let you read the news for us that such and such a tender is going out, or such and such an RFP is going out, and make sure you get the details on it. Then maybe we would get more local businesses bidding on these contracts. So I'm still working on it. I think the staff, every department has been rather hectic lately, and I will defend them to the nth degree that not all things got done perfectly lately, but we are working on it and we're getting that way. Or getting there. So just let us muddle through a little longer, and every time we stray, point us back in the right direction. That's all I ask.
Good discussion. I noticed you didn't sit back and observe. You participated again. Just thought I'd mention it. We're a very engaging committee. Now, Michelle, you still have your hand up. I wasn't sure if you had anything to add, and then we have Helene.
Yeah, it's on purpose. It's really quick. I promise this is the last time I will talk for a while. I just wanted to clarify, I literally did not mean a press release, because that's like you said it yourself. It's maybe an older generation thing. I literally meant a Facebook post or tweet. I wasn't expecting them to put out like a one-page press release doc, more just like a Facebook post.
Thank you. Helene?
I think I get almost to the same point as Michelle. I think when I think of the idea of a press release, it's actually the exercise of defining your key messages on any particular topic. So it's kind of just making sure that when there is something that could be of interest or that is flagged as contentious, it's kind of making the point of doing the exercise of figuring out what is the one sentence, one true descriptive thing about that, most important thing we need to say about this. What is the one paragraph version? And then what is the slightly longer version? And then that way it's available to pass on to whoever wants it, whether it's the BIAs or it is the press or it's the whoever. And maybe that's something that we as TEDAB can actually help with some of that stuff. And I think because it's not just only quotes from us, but it's also helping we know that this thing is probably going to get attention. So can we help the communications department if they are overloaded in figuring out what's the tweet version of what the branding effort is? What's the one paragraph? What's the 2 paragraph or more descriptive version? So I don't know if maybe that's a way that rather than us jumping out and being the face of it, we might be able to help with developing some of that language and those key messages that do provide, whether it's the press or it's influencers or whoever, because a lot of people have so much on their plate that if they get handed something, like if they get handed language that does what they need, they'll use it. So that was just a thought.
I asked the question, Svi, there's a lot of layers to this conversation. There's the protocol process. There's the fact that Norfolk management and council and our reputation management is vulnerable because we are not in charge of our story because of some of the protocol. We do know that we have interest to support the communication message and maybe a strategy in that department. And then we look at our mandate. How do we marry all of this good intention and expertise on this committee to help some of those vulnerabilities moving forward?
Excellent question. I think that Councillor Van Passen pointed to one way, which is the little videos. Yeah. When we have a project, if we could record some messages from members of TEDAB and put that out through our social channels, advising the community on the one hand that something is happening and that they should be aware, but also then having actual members of our community that are also members of the advisory board telling a positive story rather than staff trying to tell a positive story, which seems obviously it's more powerful when it comes from members of the community. So I would say that is one great way of doing it. Another way is just when we put out, like when we did the survey and the community consultation regarding the brand strategy. Like I said, we boosted it, but it probably would have gone a lot further had, Michelle shared it on her social, right? Michelle has a great following. Other members, I'm sure, have a great following. That's one way to get that message out. So rather than us just, because one thing is coming from the county, but also if it's shared through the community by members of the community, influencers in the community. So those are two ways. I am not a communications expert. I'm sure there's other ways that it can be done in a highly effective but low risk kind of way. And so let's just try it with the next big thing, the next thing that we work on, which is not that far away.
Can I just ask everyone to put their hands up if they're interested in something? This will help us to maybe establish a boundary. Are you interested in being a little bit more visible and vocal on this committee? In representing, some of these tactics that are unfolding now. If you want to put up your hand, if you're happy to have your name, your company. Or not sure? Okay, so we have Jerry, we have Chantel. You could put up your icon.
Sorry?
Or put up your icon.
I had only said this before because I've been told in the past when I've tried to put myself out there that I'm not a local. So I just don't want to I want to make sure that I don't work against the committee.
Okay. Well, we have Jerry who felt that he's here and comfortable with being visible. I know myself, Michelle, so there's three. Chantel, Cindy, excellent. There's no pressure, there's no right or wrong answer. I think that, however we feel that what our comfort zone is, I don't feel that I'm a target regarding my intention for volunteering my time here and how I can best support positive growth within our community. And also the directives. I just, for me, when staff, when management and good intentions of a process become vulnerable to a quick media hit midway, it's concerning to me. So Jacob, have you been able to capture everyone's names there?
I think so. Yeah, we can,
Okay.
certainly we can keep pushing the project forward, and we may even have some people that are a little bit on the fence right now that may decide they want to step forward once they see, possibly how easy it is. Because I have a small idea, I think, of what Councillor Van Passen was chatting about, being that I, did spend my first year here working in the communications department. I don't know how many people actually knew that. So I'll just help out in any way that I can.
So, and we have Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. One other issue, and maybe I'll lean on Jacob as well, is the problem of how the information comes from this committee and gets to council and the time frame of that. If one of our staff members write a report, there's like a 2-month lag from the good idea coming out of here before council sees it to get it back here, or it's through the minutes of the meeting and one of the councillors has to pull it. And I think that's another little thing that we need to somehow be able to speed up that process. You're going to send all these great ideas, Jake's going to record it in the minutes, and then council's going to see it in June or July. And, how do we fix that? Maybe we got to work on that to get the ideas up and down the ladders faster. So maybe you can help me with that somehow too. So, and maybe Jake can tell me how right or wrong I was on that.
Can I speak a tiny bit to that?
We
Wanda?
have Jerry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure who put up their
just
hand
a couple of
first.
questions. Yeah, no, just a couple of questions. What are our major social media outlets? Like, are we actually putting information on there, or are we just responding to what has been put on there by someone else through a different council member, or what? So are we on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? Yeah, I'm on none of that, but I will get on it, and I can be an influencer. I could put my name out there as the Norfolkian who wants to breed a great image of Norfolk. Does that make sense?
So yeah, I think we have Jake. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jerry. Sorry.
No, I'm just trying to find out are we allowed to be putting stuff out there, or is there a system where this meeting is confidential until the minutes come out and council has read them?
Good question. Jacob?
Zvi, sorry, did you want to handle the confidential part? I just saw you kind of shaking your head a little bit there.
Yeah, everything that we say here is public domain. The videos get posted online, so anyone who cares to look here will see the information. We share our projects here, but no, I mean, there's nothing really confidential here. If something were confidential, we would probably look to do it through a separate forum. And just while I have the mic, I'll also just clarify. I think Michael had a question on what channel in terms of social, and I just want to clarify that it's the county's main social media Facebook channel where things get boosted. We do have a Facebook for tourism, but since the department's been restructured, candidly, we've kind of put that to the side, and we're working now on a strategy on how do we reignite that content. But that page is stale. That page hasn't had a lot of engagement on it since early in 2020. So anything that goes out will go out through the county's main page. And when we have the ability and a new content strategy right now underway, then we will kind of reignite the tourism page of the county.
Thank you. Jacob, did you still have another comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, but we definitely do, Jerry. I think it was that you that brought it up there. We definitely do have Facebook and Twitter. I think one of the tougher things over the last year or so, the folks that were in that department are now working from home, so that's making things a little bit more difficult. But I can say, like when I was in the department, that was always a goal to, tweet and have Facebook posts regarding what was going on. And I know when I was there, we did do the odd video as well, which as far as I know, always, generally drove a lot of traffic as well and garnered a lot of interest. So what the plan is going forward, obviously I can't say because I'm not in that department. But we do have Facebook, we do have Twitter, and like Zvi said, it was always a plan to kind of work hand in hand with the tourism department on how we would promote those things. Just like as Zvi said, that they kind of have had their own social media accounts in the past, and obviously we'll be bringing them back in the future. And I know at a certain time there was talk about an Instagram account as well, but that might obviously lend itself more to a tourism kind of theme. But we definitely do have posts and whatnot from our two main social media channels in Twitter and Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacob. We have Michelle and then Councillor Van Passen. You're on mute, Michelle?
Yes, I know. My screen told me I was. I just wanted to clarify for Councillor Van Passen. There was a delay. Like we normally would send things out within, like someone would add an agenda item and we'd confirm it in the meeting and you'd have something from a couple weeks from us. It's just we couldn't really release anything with all the new members on the board because we're speaking for the board. So I think it was the delay in confirming the board members that led this from starting in December until now, really. Normally it would be like a matter of weeks, at the very most a month, until we get something to you. Additionally, what we've been like, none of the stuff we're talking about is like us sending a press release out to like the community. It's like us sending something to council. Like it's us giving you guys a statement on what we think because we're your advisory board. So it's not us like trying to speak for anybody to the public. It's like the things we're all talking about. It isn't a public facing thing. It's to the county, really. If that makes sense.
Councillor?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it does make sense, but again, our process a little antiquated, I think, but like officially, the only way some gets to council is either through the minutes or through a staff report. But a staff report has to go through how many layers of other staff and other departments before everybody signs off and it's okay. But we're working on that process as well. The question of like all of these meetings officially are public meetings, correct? So everybody can watch them. When the time comes that we can all sit together in the same room, anybody can walk off the street, sit down and listen to everything you say and everything you do. And if there's a need for something to remain confidential, then that's what closed session meetings for. And there's only certain reasons you're allowed to do that. And I doubt this committee would ever reach the bar where they'd have to be discussing any of those things that are allowed. And then where the problem comes, and I said it before about staying in their lane, that members of this committee can't really go out and say things on behalf of the county, on behalf of council. They can type away all they want as the individual, but they can't sort of put out the impression that they're speaking on behalf of council. That's where that's crossing the line. And that's so if it's the little interview, the little comments, the little quotes, and our staff put them out on behalf of the county, that is somehow different than you putting that same comment out yourself and people assume it's on behalf of the county. If I've explained that any which way that it's reasonable. So
very clear. Very clear. Thank you. Cindy? You're on mute, Cindy.
Sorry, that's so you don't hear my dog bark. I know we have resource issues in that too. And I just want to put it out there that we have amazing Chamber of Commerce's and BIAs that I think it's a partnership of getting whatever message to them because they're the biggest cheerleaders on behalf of the businesses. So whether not putting words into the mouths of them, they will take what they garner from these things and use their own messaging to promote how great the tourism is or how great this new logo is. And I think they could be the champions that help roll it out and trickle it down the line to all of their members. It doesn't have to be all on the county to be the messenger in all this. I'm sitting at my store talking to thousands of people every week. And believe me, I was so upset about that social media post and I wanted to jump on there, but you know what? I want to be face to face because they will not say it to my face. They'll say it online, but they will not say it to my face. And I want a reason to explain it or defend it or whatever, our interpretations of it. And I think that's where the chamber and BIAs and that can help get that positive messaging out to everybody and trickle it down, that now we're the masses talking to the people.
Thank you, Cindy. Good discussion. We're peeling back the onion. There's a lot of layers. Any other comments on this topic regarding the news release? Helene?
This is just more a question, and it's probably showing my ignorance as being a new member of this committee. But so, just so I understand, everything that happens in this committee, so I understand it only gets to council either through council reading the minutes from this meeting or staff writing some kind of formal report. Like that's the only way that what we do in this meeting gets to count. Like,
we could make a deputation to council. We can make a formal recommendation to council on the behalf of this advisory board through motions, which would be brought forward by a staff report or either from myself as chair, if I could make a recommendation if I was available, or Michelle as a co-chair. Michelle, you've made a deputation, I believe, in the past.
Okay, so there is sort of directly pass information from us to, like, more directly to council than the roundabout way that I kind of was hearing about from Councillor Van Passen.
Well, that is your individual voice. We're not here as individuals to speak on the behalf of the county, and I believe Councillor Van Passen was mentioning that. So we're here as a collective, and through motions and that type of process and dialogue, if we have recommendations we want to make to council, we can certainly move that forward. We work with management to help direct all of our ideas to ensure it fits within our mandate, because there are boundaries. And Zvi, I don't know if you, looking at the mandate, because we are having some bigger discussions on how this committee should continue to function, how we have individual voices at the table, and how we can best use that in a positive way to support tourism and economic development.
So I think Councillor Van Passen kind of hit the nail on the head. You have voices as individuals. You have the ability to share good news. You have the ability to engage with the public. As TEDAB, really you're an advisory board to council. So really the messaging is for council through your minutes, through a motion that you might make where you're suggesting that council take a certain action. And so that's the formal route. The informal route your individuals that have the ability to support or not support.
Okay, but so there is an opportunity to bring sort of our advisory directly into council as a presentation of some sort. I guess is that what a deputation is?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just saying to avoid the counselors having to dig through minutes to find things that they don't even know what they're looking for, or, staff who is already completely and totally overwhelmed with lots of things to do. There is, and waiting for them to put together some kind of report that gets to council, there is an opportunity, if we think that there's something worth making the presentation about, we can then go and present it as an advisory kind of thing directly to council through these deputations.
That's my understanding. I've worked the process myself. Municipal staff, Jacob, Zvi, councillor.
Last year, I
sound
think
about
every
right?
meeting, I think almost every meeting last year, we had a statement that we made make sense, and we sent it to the county just as like feedback to the things they've asked us for and things like that. I don't think any of us are proposing that we're going to pretend to act as the voice of council. We're acting as an advisory board and giving feedback of what's happening in the community. And I mean, is that not wanted? Because if that's not wanted, I don't know if I'm super interested on being the board, because we don't really do much else. You know what I mean? Honestly, if that's not desired, I don't know what else we do.
Councillor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we don't want to make the spelling of the word board the other spelling and just have you here for, unless you're all drinking wine, then I can't see it on the things, and then it might be fun. But I think the chair has sort of stated that when you have time-sensitive items, you understand the system takes too much time. So you take that motion that has been agreed on by the full board here, and you take it directly to council as a deputation. That is one way to cheat the system and get it there quicker, and on time-sensitive matters, because we actually just did that with the Ag Advisory Board minutes, that I had them pulled as out of the information package, put on the council agenda. Then I pulled the one motion that they made out up for discussion, because it was a time-sensitive thing. And if it went through the normal process, it would have been next month or the month after before it would be in front of council. So there are ways to speed up the system. And, I do appreciate when our committee chairs show up at council, even if it's just for, the annual update and things like that. But when they have important issues that we've asked them to look into, we've asked them to advise on, show up, give us your 5 minutes of your time, and then that's an excuse to deal with it immediately. So there are ways around the system.
Yeah, very good. And thank you for that.
Don't tell anybody I said that. So thank you.
So lastly, I think with the greater discussion that's taken place, there's been some recommendations of possibly video. We have a mix of how we want to move forward, how we want to move forward with creating visibility with individuals and how we're going to contribute. The news release, Zvi, I'm not sure if, we're ready to bring that forward unless we want to circulate it internally to the committee, see if there's any more contributions that committee members would like to make. Do you feel that document is ready for that stage?
Up to the committee, honestly. I think, yeah, sure, circulate it. I really don't know whether that PR role is still a function, whether it's still something you want to focus on. If it is, then certainly you can send that out. If it's something that goes out, then it sounds like it can go out just as part of the minutes to council. Rather than, I think that was the intent, right? That it go to council ultimately.
Correct.
So,
it's an internal document, and I don't know if maybe we can, if this has not been circulated to the committee, the final piece, if we feel that would be a good next step, because this has been a very involved conversation. There's been greater discussion regarding communication, timelines, some vulnerability in controlling the story. So
the last
do you
version
feel
that
there's any, yeah. Do you feel there's any harm?
No, but I do think it's not finalized. I think the final version that I sent to you, Wanda, still had some questions and comments and stuff like that. So if maybe based on what I've heard here today, I can just fill it in and send it to you, and then if once you're okay with it, Jacob can send it out to the group, and everyone can provide feedback on whether they want to do that. Having said that, just based on the discussion today, it sounds like you and I were going back and forth on whether the PR piece is a TEDAB item or whether it's an individual member item. It sounds like after today, it's pretty clear that it's an individual member item. So certain individual members may choose to promote positive stories about the county as opposed to TEDAB promoting. It's a bit weird. You would think that an advisory board could do that, but I hear that it really is an advisory board. And so, I'll send you the final draft, you look at it, and then Jacob can flip it over to everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good discussion, everyone. Really, truly appreciate your perspectives. Under communications, we have item B. We can move forward. That would be the skills assessment update. Jacob?
Yes, Wanda. So thank you for reminding me to send out a reminder to everyone. We got a number of them today, so we have a pretty good handful, but I believe we'll probably have a few more. Like I know Michael said to me, he's going to fill his out this week. Chantel, I see your hand up. You do not need to send one back in because we have yours. Michelle asked the same question. But if you have not, just feel free to send them over. Wanda, did you kind of want to just give people that might be new to it exactly? I tried to explain it as best I could, but I was also getting ready for 2 meetings at once. So did you just want to kind of give people a background that might not know, just in case they're wondering why we did it?
Sure. As we're getting to know each other and all of the relevant expertise that we can share and how we can help the mandate that we have and our community, we thought, wouldn't it be good for us to know the different areas in which we can contribute? It could be forestry, agriculture, food and beverage, communications. So the document that Jacob had circulated today, it is to be completed by every member. It also allows us to consolidate all individual forms and responses. So we can, and this is would be the next step, Jacob, is to consolidate all the responses, and then we can see if there's any gaps that we have at this table. It will allow us to see what kind of skills we have, and maybe some areas that we might need to reach out to a third party should we, not be able to speak on any particular vulnerable area. We might not have legal expertise at the table, but that might be a priority in the future. That could be identified to be ideal to have that kind of expert here. So yes, that was circulated. If you have not completed it, please return it. And Jacob, if I'm sorry, I feel like I'm making too much work for you. This would, as you're also live streaming another meeting, I am hoping that once we receive all the responses that we can have a master consolidation document with everyone's responses.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I know that was always the plan, and no worries. Our very hardworking acting county clerk, Kevin here, actually helped me with my other meetings, so he took on most of the work, and that's why he makes the big bucks. So He's now in the room
Excellent.
with
Way
us,
to go.
but I can absolutely, I will put those together. I think we'll probably just need a few more. Kevin says hello, everybody, but yes, I can get that over to you guys, and we can consolidate from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. And perhaps a wish list item that will be ready for us to examine at our next meeting.
Yeah, I know we've got, I think I got 3 or 4 more today, and then I know, like Michael said, he will fill his out. And I don't think for anybody here, I don't think it takes overly long either. I've seen the document. I haven't obviously gone through it myself, but I don't think it takes very long. So it might just be another reminder, but I think we're down to the short strokes anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I didn't realize that you wanted those of us in support roles to do that, so I'll get that back to you tomorrow.
It works, right? Like if you're part of the group, right? So it certainly doesn't hurt.
Thank you, Laura. Just one comment on this is that I've just walked through this exercise with my volunteer role with the Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce. We actually use this as a guiding document for strategic planning as well, and for recruitment. So I think it's good for us to have this this audit. And thank you everyone in advance for your willingness to share. Svi, I'm always going to go back to you just to see if you've got anything to add on the item.
Nope, sounds great.
Okay, because we're here as a supportive body in all the amazing work that you've done thus far, and I know you've walked into existing momentum that boy, you know, we get to have a story that we're not in charge of at the moment, and that has nothing to do with what you've done. So we're going to work on how we're going to make that a little bit better moving forward. So I'd like to acknowledge we've got Nick from OMAFRA. Nick, we have you in the room. There you are. Oh, the wave's crashing. He's in Port Dover today. Thank you for coming up. And I'd like to move your item to the agenda. I know you have a presentation that you're providing to us today.
Yeah, for sure. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Thank you.
And yeah, so I'll see if I can share my screen. If it starts getting a little choppy, just let me know, and then I'll stop my video. Hang on here. I think I have to open or get it up on the screen, maybe. There we go. Yeah, so what I offered is to give a little piece of our Community Economic Development 101 presentation. And so this is about a 3-hour workshop that we've put on in the past. I'm not sure if any of you have attended it, but I thought I'd pull out a few pieces. We're a new group coming together, so everybody's level of understanding can be a little different. And so I thought maybe we could just go through it. So what are you seeing now? Are you seeing just the presentation slide or the whole presentation?
The opening slide, Nick.
No,
Okay.
seeing exactly what we should see, Nick.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so as I said, this is just a little piece of it, the intro to it. We typically offer this Community Economic Development 101 when there's an election and there's a changeover of municipal councillors. So we offer it to them, and then also groups like yourselves when there's a changeover of people participating. So I will move along. So community economic development, what is it? This is a definition that we have settled on. There's maybe some other definitions, but we feel for rural Ontario, it represents community economic development very well. So it's the process, and a process is to be highlighted there. It's not, it's not follow this step, that step, but it's a process of fostering an environment that results in the creation of wealth and well-being for the benefit of the community. And so it's not a one-time operation. It's ever evolving, ever changing. And so as we work through different opportunities and overcome different barriers, it creates a different geography for us to work in again. So wealth and well-being can mean jobs. It can mean investment in the economy. Well-being also refers to positive social benefits to the entire community. And community is just a word. It can go beyond municipal boundaries. Typically in rural Ontario, we look at community within municipal boundaries, but we always say, don't let that inhibit some opportunities for economic development. So this this slide depicts evidence of economic development activities in what in this depiction here is busy town. And it can be so many different things. So at the central piece, we have the workforce and businesses in that central building there. But we also have housing for workers. We have infrastructure improvements for getting people to and fro and goods to and fro. Quality of life for the community is important. Emergency services, there's signage, telecommunications, and transportation. So it's much more than just workforce and business, and I didn't mean to omit that, but up at the top we see tourism there as well. And so that's all a part of that community and economic development. Further evidence of economic development. So this depicts a sector, the forestry sector. And so, this is a thriving lumber industry, could be in this particular community is one of their industries. And by identifying, supporting the best utilizing the assets of the lumber industry, the community creates a greater opportunity for jobs and for exports. And we see a lot of activities besides just the lumbering here. It's the transportation of those goods to where they need to go. It's the environmental piece, the reseeding of the forest here, the lookout, and the workers that are needed to make that happen. So further evidence of community economic development activities are depicted here at Steve's sawmill. And the sawmill is important to the local economy in providing employment, but also in supplying at least 4 other local businesses with important inputs for their own manufacturing processes. So mine is fairly small, so sorry I can't, you can probably identify them, but I think there's a furniture, somebody picking up stuff for furniture or building, etc. So, here I have a list here: paper company, the carpenter, boat builder, and furniture company. So all of that has a positive economic effect on the community. So that's the piece around just a high overview. And so part of looking at your community is identifying what are those key sectors in your community, and what does that look like, and how are things tied together? How do we add value to those key manufacturing sectors to keep more of our economic development local? So this is another way to look at depict economic development. It's imagining your community as a tree. So we're going to break it down into 3 parts: the leaves, the branches, the trunk, and the roots. So each one of these parts of the tree represents a different part of community economic development. So the leaves are, it could be, in this example, could be considered the economic wealth generators. So as you know, just as the leaves create energy for the tree to grow, money flowing into the community helps the economy grow. Economic wealth generators are anything that brings new money into the community, and examples would be private business, goods and services exported outside of the community, tourist dollars that are brought into the community, those who work outside of the community and bring their money back in, government funding, anything really that brings money into the community. So the branches describe support activities. The leaves are supported by twigs and branches. In our community economy, these are called support activities. Support activities don't necessarily bring in new wealth to the community. However, they're essential for supporting the economic wealth generators. So bringing new money into the community requires supports. Examples of support activities could be lawyers, accountants, hairdressers, doctors, grocery stores, local recreation activities, maintenance, electrical or electricians and plumbers. Those sorts of things can all be considered support activities. And it also, those support activities, they circulate the money and keep that money circulating in your community. So there's a concept which is called leakage, and this is when money that flows out of the community and goes elsewhere. When we're caring for the health of our tree, we need to be mindful of how many holes we have in our tree and where we lose good nutritious sap. By paying attention to those holes and finding ways to plug them helps to keep our tree strong and healthy. So examples might be if we're importing goods or bringing goods into our community. If there's business closures, businesses are moving out of our community into a different community, or out migration. There's also, if some of you are familiar with economic development concepts, there's also the concept of the leaky bucket. So we're driving money into our bucket and those holes in our community, and then there's money leaving our community. So it's having a look at that and just understanding it. There's never a model where there aren't any holes, but it's understanding that how can we be most efficient and most effective at keeping that money within our community and churning in our community. So there are the leaves. So the leaves represent economic wealth generators, money that comes into your community. The woodpecker holes are where we lose our nutritious sap. That represents leakage and money flowing out of the community. By looking at this basic example of our economy, we can see that there are two basic approaches to growing our local economy. So growing your leaves, bringing new money in, while plugging up the woodpecker holes to stop money from leaking out. So yeah, so it's just you know, kind of bringing it into a fun concept, but again, bringing in new money. Some examples are in the slide there: supporting local business growth, attracting investment, export development, and increasing tourist dollars spent in the community. And some examples of stopping leakage is retaining existing businesses, buy local initiatives, and retaining our local workforce, or as in, you know, a lot of communities right now, it's attracting that workforce to your region. So the roots are the community supports. The healthier the roots, the healthier the tree. Some of our roots may be weaker and some may be stronger. By always finding ways to strengthen our roots, we can make sure that our community is strong and well supported. So yeah, what kinds of roots support our tree? Infrastructure, which could include water, waste management, roads, railways and ports, hospitals, energy, broadband, land, that sort of thing. Workforce entails the people that live and work in our community, how many workers there are, can they do the work, do they have the skill sets to do that, and how much do the workers need to earn to live in our area. Government policies, rules, regulations, and legislation. Those are the tools that are used to govern our society, obviously. Sometimes they can help us with our community active efforts. Sometimes they can unintentionally hold us back as well. So it's looking at those and considering those as to ways and means in which we could better promote the direction we want to go with building our tree or building out our tree. Access to capital, how businesses get money to start and grow. Do investors want to invest, and do lenders want to lend? And how easy or hard is it for the businesses to find those investors and lenders? Community attitudes toward business and each other affect every aspect of community economic development. Do community members support the local businesses? Do local businesses support the community? Do community members support the community economic development's priorities as well? So it's that buy-in to it. And then finally, research and innovation. So research is all about gaining a better understanding of how things actually are in and outside of your community. Innovation is all about making things better and needs to be a part of a community's culture. So that's our tree. And so bringing that all together with those three key pieces supports or creates community economic development. Now, in a lot of what groups like our group, TEDAB, can do is in that community supports. It's having healthy roots and influencing the community supports piece so that these other things, the economic wealth generators and the support activities, can grow and thrive in our community. And that's a real important piece that a group like TEDAB can contribute to. So just my final slide, circling back to Again, what is community economic development? It's a process fostering an environment that results in the creation of wealth and the well-being for the benefit of the community. And so that's my presentation, and that's a bit of the the introduction to community economic development. And let me see. And the next piece in this is around the how. You know, what are some of those tools that are available to help with that? So that's all that I have, Wanda. And I'm trying to stop sharing here, but it just says hide share options. So, oh, thank you. Someone else is taking
Nick,
control.
What a wealth of information. Perhaps we might have a couple of questions from the committee. Does anyone have any questions for Nick? Nick, I have a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
I see we have Councillor Van Passen. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to say that just about 2 years ago right now that I did take this workshop with Mr. Kinkle, and I found it very worthwhile, and sort of gives you the different perspective of what economic development and really is and how you get there. So, you know, thanks, Nick, for my lesson. I never did make ECDEV 201, but I hope to get there at some point. So.
Thanks, Chris.
That actually was one of my questions. Is I understand you have a series of workshops in economic development. I have attended this session in the past.
Yeah, so so this is the high level introductory one, and then our community economic development 201 is takes some of those things and goes more in depth into some of those concepts, and again looking a little closer at some of the tools and opportunities. So yeah, and we hope to I think now that the world has gone so virtual, we hope to have them available sometime in the next number of months, so people can log in virtually to training. Mm-hmm.
That was my next question, is whether or not there was a plan to offer the workshops virtually.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Excellent. Well, please keep us posted on the developments of that. I did find it interesting, and I wanted to just weigh in on community attitudes. I felt that the previous conversation, and that we were having might weigh in slightly. I know we all want to shop local, but there has been various comments about maybe the heightened communication strategy that we need to look at implementing regarding positivity. And did you have any comments on any of that, Nick, at all? I mean, you're a very insightful gentleman. You've been at this table for a long time.
Yeah, for sure, right? I mean, community attitude can do so much with initiatives that are happening in economic development. You know, I'm just trying to think of a really great example, which isn't right jumping to my mind, but you know, even community attitudes around welcoming a workforce, for instance, right? So I know in another community they had people with a Filipino background come from a more urban center to fill a workforce need, and there was the recognition that there would be some isolation there. So the community attitude was positive and welcoming to having them there. So they created some initiatives to pre-COVID, of course, but around for everyone to come together, people from the community and the new people, but they created an environment where they could share differences in their cultural background. So they, for instance, had a potluck type thing, or where they brought their different cultural foods and things like that. So it really is like it created a very positive community atmosphere around that labor, and so much so that more people from different cultural backgrounds felt comfortable coming to that area because of what had been created. So they were fulfilling their workforce needs through that type of initiative and positive community vibes. And yeah, I mean it. Developers and anyone creating something new is looking at that, and we often hear that from Norfolk as well, or we have in the past, about the supportive environment, certainly in tourism and agriculture and value-added agriculture, and a lot of testimonials in the past of people wanting to come here and start their business because of the atmosphere. Not only the geography or environmental atmosphere, but also the community positivity. Mm-hmm.
Just one last question, and I bring this question out also to the committee. Because of the pandemic reality, because of the public health safety measures that we are all asked to follow, and there certainly is a heightened level of sensitivity. There are several nuances at play, and we do know that there is economic devastation affiliated with what the pandemic is causing to many business owners and those who are employed, who have lost their jobs. How can our community, how can our municipality deal with this? We've talked a lot about communication. We've talked about what's happening with something's happening on social media regarding some attitudes towards initiatives that they might not have all the information. How do we deal with that, with the relevant pandemic conditions? And would anyone like to weigh in on any comments on that piece? I think it's still a juggle. Okay. No comments. It is the reality we are dealing with, right? Okay. Any other questions for our presenter, Nick? We have Councillor. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to suggest if anybody offered the solution to that today, their name be at the Nobel Prize list in a few months. So if somebody comes up with the idea, let us know.
I think it's resiliency training myself. Mm-hmm. It's all up here. So, but thank you, Nick. If I see no questions, no hands up from committee members, fantastic value. Thank you.
Okay.
This is why we're all here.
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. And again, if there's other bits of this you want in next meetings, I'm happy to do that. certainly keep you informed of when the training becomes available. Now, I do have to jet to a Haldeman Ag Advisory Committee meeting, but we'll see you all at the next one.
Very good. Thank you. I know we have Laura who has her hand up. I don't know if it's a question for you, Nick, before you leave, or
you did a great job though, Nick. Good job.
Oh,
Say hi to the
thanks.
hauling crew for me.
Will do. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks for your time, Nick. Please
Okay,
keep
take
sharing
care.
and let us know what's available.
Will do. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
I was just thinking kind of about the communication and the complaints about the communication, and you kind of go back to, I have a background in HR and, you know, employee engagement and change management and things like that before my time in AcDev. And, you know, that is the one thing that no matter what you do, everyone's going to complain that you are not communicating enough, right? So I think you have to be very careful. You have to always constantly have it kind of in your view and working on it. But you are never going to get a survey or never going to get everyone say, wow, yeah, I knew that. Yeah, like I knew all that was going on. You're always going to have people say, I never knew that. I didn't hear that. So you have to be, you know, you have to do the best you can, but you have to realize that I can guarantee you every employment engagement survey, you know, every single one I've ever seen results from will say that communication was an issue. So, I mean, and you can improve it, but that's always going to be, it's never going to be the 95th percentile for that. You know, people just aren't there, because that's the one thing that people are always going to say, oh, I didn't know, you know, well, I told you when I emailed you and we had that in the team meeting. But I think you have to be aware of that, it's something to strive for, but it's really hard to successfully achieve it. So don't ever take that as a slam against what you're doing. Because people are never going to be happy unless, you know, you do one-on-one meetings and go, hey, Chantal, do you understand this? Like two-way communication. And then, hey, Wanda, do you understand this? So just be aware of that. So, you know, always be striving for better, but know that you're never going to achieve 100% success. And that's the one thing also that people are going to be most critical of.
So Laura, a question back to you. Would you say this is all about choosing the high road and being persistent? And looking at a little bit of frequency on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to try different means and see what happens. But, you know, you're never going to achieve 100% success on that. You're always going to have the naysayers on that. And I think Michelle said something about it earlier. With the internet, people can become the biggest. Oh, Michelle said something, because Michelle said you wouldn't say that to my face, right? Like you wouldn't be negative about that to her face or to Zev's face or anything like that. You know, we get a lot of internet warriors, right, where they'll say a lot of things online because they don't have a name or a face to it, right? They would never come to this committee and critique it the same way. So, you know, just consider those things when you're doing things. You're just kind of always going to have that in your background.
Thank you, Laura. Helena?
So I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question, but just with it being the sort of the most recent negative thing, what is going on with the whole tourism strategy thing? Because I watched, maybe Councillor Van Passen, you can help with an answer to this, because I watched a large chunk of the council meeting last night, but I didn't actually find the point in the video when that got touched upon and kind of what the next steps are and what we, you know, what the plan is for actually addressing kind of the all the chatter that's going on with that. Like whether it's whether it is a communications thing or it's just what the next steps on that project are.
Councillor?
Yeah, I guess I get to, that was not a request, was it? That was a demand.
That's for you.
I think we're going to have to work on, Helene, you got to learn to be more direct. Don't beat around the bush so much. Just, you know, get right out there and say what you mean. So even our CAO explained this to council, and yes, you're right. The whole rolling out of it was screwed up from one end to the other, but that's a draft of a strategy. And it seemed that everybody focused on some logo that is just a logo that is nothing to do. That's not the branding of Norfolk County. It's not anything. It's a cool little thing that somebody got a few icons off the internet, I think, by the looks of it, because I think I had the same comments as most people that's very nice, but what are those and what are they supposed to be? But that sort of had nothing to do. If you actually sit down and read the draft strategy, I think there's a lot of good work in there. And that's something now that's in draft form. Now we get to fix it. That's the process we're undertaking now. And I think it goes back to that old saying that it's easier to edit than it is to create. But if nobody creates that initial thing, there's nobody around that's going to edit it for us either. So this is just step one of the or step 2 or 3 or whatever, but it's part of a process that is still coming down the pipe.
So Helene, who's not being direct enough, you have something to say? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Okay. Totally understand that strategy is the first step. My question is actually, so if we're saying that logo was an afterthought that was thrown in there as a sort of inspirational cue to kind of allow you to picture how the strategy can come to life, that's what I'm asking is, so we've got the strategy, that's great, but a strategy is not an executed, campaign that has clear tone, visuals, messaging, it is the first step. So I'm asking if Cinnamon Toast's mandate is done, which is what I understand, is they were engaged to create the strategy. What is the plan for the next step in terms of execution? Because if Cinnamon Toast isn't doing it, who is?
In response to that, we have B.
Thanks, Wanda. So I'll take a stab at it. Where we are today, we have this strategy. The next step for us is actually to go back to the stakeholders, the industry themselves, the tourism industry, the stakeholders, and say, here's what we've come up with as a strategy. Now we would like you to provide input as to, we initially sought input from the strategy. Now we're saying, is there anything that we've missed, which is the first part, right? We want to make sure we've captured everything. But then the more important part almost is, okay, how do we turn this strategy into a platform that the county together with the industry can now work towards growing tourism in Norfolk County? And when I say growing, I mean not just, hey, let's do a whole bunch of marketing and advertising, but actually look at, we've got new target markets, we've got new activities that we want to promote, there's new types of messaging. How do we do this together? And we may end up at a point where they say, one of the things we would like from you, county, is a logo, in which case that will be one thing that we'll do, and we'll kind of do actually what Helene and I spoke about, which is almost like a design contest. But really what we want to get to is, as an industry, how do you want us to create scale? How do we use this strategy to jointly, because we, the county, can't do it alone. Economic development has a very small budget, and there's no possible way that we can compete with municipalities that are much, much larger in trying to attract an audience that has multi-million-dollar campaigns thrown at them every single day. So the only way to do it is to work together with the industry. And the industry may say, we want a single central logo that we will all push. Or they might say, no, that's not what we want from you, county. The way we want to collaborate is that you do this and we'll take this part on. Or they might say, you know what? Yeah, we think that Norfolk County should have a logo, and you push that logo out, and then we will use our brand power to, once people are drawn towards Norfolk, we will then use our brand power to have them visit this location and this location and that location. So really the next step is that implementation piece where we ask them, A, is anything missing in the strategy? And B, how do we now implement this? How do we take this strategy, not just the marketing piece, but the entire, how do we grow tourism in Norfolk County? How do we jointly agree that we want to implement this goal of growing tourism in Norfolk County, and not just growing it, but diversifying it. We really want to diversify into new audiences. So that is the next step. And through that next step, it may emerge that, and likely will emerge, that a logo is required. And then we will really take a much more public facing approach to creating the logo, as opposed to, you know, here's a concept that's out there.
Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone is, I absolutely understand that this is not about the logo. It's
Right.
not like the logo is it's an icon. It's whether it's there or it isn't there is kind of, that's not the point of fixation. This is more just so we have this strategy, which is the underlying kind of thought and direction that we want to go with whatever the communications platform or campaign is. So we're still in the place that the actual scope of the execution has yet to be defined. And that's part of this industry consultation, that you are now taking the strategy back to the stakeholders to define what the scope of the execution could or should be, correct?
100%. And that's much more succinct than I got it. We basically know what audiences we want to go after. We know what tone and messaging. We want to make sure we're not missing anything, and then work on that scope of execution together as a collaborative. One of the things that county or that council asked us to do was look for ways to collaborate with industry. This is how we do that. Instead of just Norfolk County being responsible for tourism, it is Norfolk County with the industry hand in hand collaborating on a joint strategy, and that execution piece needs to be worked out next.
Okay. Because I think that's
Very
kind
good.
of the big thing that just is of concern, at least to me, both as one of those stakeholders, but also as someone who's done this a lot, is just, if, you know, are we planning on executing this as having one cohesive and coherent campaign that goes out there where everybody kind of feeds into that, but agrees that it's all going to feel very much part of that one whole? Or is it more just like everybody's going to participate and everybody's going to help, and as long as whatever you choose to do kind of ladders up to the strategy we defined, then that's fine. We feel like that approach is a better one versus a, you know, everybody kind of decides to follow that one route. So that's one of the discussions that I'm curious to hear the result from all those stakeholders and what their opinion is on that.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's that one where everyone is basically marching in the same direction in lockstep and a coordinated effort. But that is part of this second the second stage of engagement. They may say, no, thank you. We want to use our own logos, our own marketing campaigns. And what we want from you, county, is boost everything, right? We want you to help us scale that. And that's all we want. But I'm really hoping that everybody gets behind this cohesive set of messages and we work on it hand in hand. That's what I'm going to be pushing for. But ultimately, the industry will have to advise us, right? They will need to tell us. We can't tell them.
Okay.
Very good. Councillor Van Passen, and then we have Cindy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If we go back a little over a year ago to the 2020 budget, council made a few changes at that time. And, you know, I know I laid this opinion out while I was chairing those meetings as well, but, you know, the county's tourism and economic development policies, and we didn't really think they were working. You know, they'd been trying the same stuff over and over again for 20 years, and they were getting the same result, and the result was not that good. And what we council intended to do was sort of flip that council or the staff at Norfolk County were leading the tourism strategy. And, you know, whether we knew anything about what we were doing or not, but the people who actually are involved in the tourism industry know what they're doing, and we just want to flip it so that it's the ideas come from the actual tourism operators, and the county supports it. Not that the county's the lead and everybody has to fall in place behind whatever direction that we pick year to year. We want to do it the other way around. And that's why, certain staff are no longer with us. There are new staff in here. The county council sort of wanted to put more emphasis on, from the county staff side, more to the ECDEV side and not so much tourism. And we will support the tourism operators rather than trying to lead them. And, I hope they mentioned this to Zibby in his job interview when he took over the job he has now, that, and this is part of the strategy. We've had a consultant sort of bring us a draft. Now we want to go back to the actual operators and get it critiqued, get it fixed, and sort of have them drive the train. And we'll be hanging on the caboose, waving the little light, but we want to get away from being the engineer on this. So I hope that that's my understanding of it, at least. So.
Good point. We have Cindy next to comment.
I think now Councillor Van Passen's almost summed up what I was going to say, because for all so long, there's so many of us businesses that have just been running on our own. I think of YU Ranch, the fair, Whistling Gardens, the restaurants, myself. We are all bringing people from outside, and 80% of our businesses are from outside. And I think it's time that the county looks at who we're already bringing. And, it's best to even get your people already coming to engage more and more. And that's how you build the momentum. So we're already bringing them, but it would be nice, to finally work together. I know we cross promote with who we can, but it's selected people were being asked before, and it would just be nice that everybody worked together as it best fits. And yes, let the industry run the train, as you say, because we are already doing it. If I want to survive, I've just survived through a pandemic with 3 stores. And I'm sure all of you have too. We have survived. So we know what we're doing. We are gung-ho and passionate, and we already are getting the people into our area. We just need to get the reinforcements with whatever branding, and we'll all jump on board and use it. So that's all I want to say.
Well said. Before the dog bark. And possibly to wrap it up, this is a big discussion, and we have one more item on the agenda. Helene, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I mean, it was just all that sorry, gather my thoughts for a second. I got distracted by a suspected spam call that just came in. No, it was just mainly making hopefully what we can do is still kind of rally behind one approach versus kind of the county just supporting everybody, like all the stakeholders, individual sort of initiatives, just because even though we don't want the county to necessarily be driving the train, I believe, as Councillor Van Passen said, but at least have all of our stakeholders kind of go behind one single identity for this, so that it doesn't become a whole bunch of little kind of smaller initiatives because that's still the same thing, right? Hopefully we can all band together, and if we want it to be us driving the train, let's still treat it like a centralized campaign that everyone feeds into, everyone supports, and everyone promotes, rather than just sort of like using the resources that the county is willing to offer for, like Michelle uses it to promote Cranberry Creek, and Cindy uses it to promote her stores as their stores, and we use it to promote our hotels as our hotels. And it's almost like an afterthought that these places all happen to be in Norfolk. I think it really should be kind of this Norfolk as a county as the lead, that is then supported by all the industry stakeholders and their involvement in it.
Thank you. Zvi, Jacob, I know that there are notes being taken on the next phase of rollout, and Councillor?
Well, just, as
You
a bit
are
of a comment
participating.
there.
I will remind you, you
Yeah.
are participating again.
Yeah, I was supposed to be quiet, wasn't I? We're not driving the train, but trains run on tracks. We all want everybody on the same track, right? So that we're not all four-wheel every which way. We're all on the same track, and but we don't want to be the engineer. So.
There we go. Well, thank you, everyone. Great discussion, and the next chapter, no doubt, will. I think we will just take all of that in and bring it forward. Other business, we have 2 items left, and we have bids and tenders. We'll discuss that first before we get to the last edition, which is Celebrate Ontario, and then we'll adjourn our meeting. So bids and tenders. Michelle, that was a request for a new item. You're back.
In our first hour. I think we thoroughly covered that in the first hour. I'd rather not open the can of worms again, if that's okay.
It's like, thank you. I would like to add one reference, as Zvi joined us at our Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce annual general meeting this morning, and this item did come up. And as Zvi had briefly mentioned earlier during the meeting, that the Chamber of Commerce, the Simcoe District Chamber of Commerce, and Cindy had mentioned as well, the organizational hubs that will be there to help communicate all the existing bids and tenders that are currently published, but perhaps local businesses aren't aware of. So this certainly could be more of, we consolidate the information. It's all on the website. It's under the bids and tenders page. There's a process which probably needs a little bit of support dialogue to educate folks on that. And I think there'll be a campaign moving forward, a unified campaign. Michelle?
I wasn't going to say anything, but I guess I'll say something here. I can't help myself. I guess what I want to say is, like, of all of the complaints towards anything, I think that the county did everything they possibly could to advertise the opportunities at that point. I truly believe that even if all of the companies in Norfolk County knew about it, you would not have gotten many people applying for it, because it's a very involved process to apply for a bid like this. It was a large project. I don't even specifically know any companies in Norfolk County that would have ever worked on a municipal brand strategy before. Like, I truly don't fault that part at all. I think that there also has to be a line, like, what are we going to do every time we need to buy a snowblower? Are we going to, like, post it to the Facebook page? Like, where do you draw the line on what you specifically advertise and what you don't? So I think that it's a little bit of I think a more involved, like a very involved discussion on improving the process, because it's just the way it is.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've explained this a few times over the last week, but the county is a child of the province. The parents get to make the rules. They have certain regulations and what we are allowed to do and not do. And one of the things they eliminated about 20 years ago was that sort of local bonusing, that you could pick local contractors over, if they were within a certain percentage. They've taken that line out about how the lowest tender bid is not necessarily accepted because of these rules. We have to do what the parents tell us to do, and we got to follow those rules and regulations. And I can give you an example of the extreme that even I thought it was the extreme. It was a tender for, phase 2 of a job. It's a $3 million job. A local company had won the tender last time for phase 1. So they bid on phase 2. You have a local company, local people going to spend their money in town, keep the money in town, $3 million job, and they lost out by $180 because that's how much their bid was higher. And we couldn't take the local company because we got to follow the rules. And that's where we're stuck. So, if we can advertise it better, hopefully more local ones will bid. Hopefully they can have sharper pencils, but, we're also stuck by the rules that we got to operate under. And, it's provincial policy, provincial regs, and then our own procurement rules and regs that our staff have to operate under. And, everybody's got a rule book that they have to deal with. And sometimes it makes for good press because they can sell newspapers by selling those stories. But, the reality is not near as exciting as the stories in the paper. So we do what we can do.
Thank you. Helene?
I mean, this is something I've mentioned to Zvi and a few other people, but realistically on this mandate in particular, I think the thing that we also have to remember is as much as it's lovely to have the idea of locals working on this, the problem is this isn't this mandate is not meant to communicate to locals. It's not meant to attract locals. It's not meant to connect with locals. It's actually supposed to, it's all about us, but it is not about us. It's about them. It's about urban people. It's about people who do not live in Norfolk County. So as beautiful as the idea is to have locals work on it, they may actually not be the best people to work on it because they're not who we're talking to. So I think there's also an opportunity to remind people of this, that like there's certain circumstances where it is lovely to engage local, but I mean, if engaging local means actually getting a less effective result, then, we may actually be better served by having people that have more experience working on the project, that have the connection to the actual market and audience that we're trying to reach. So I mean, I don't know how to communicate that to people and if it's even worth trying to, but at least within this room, I think it's it's an observation worth making.
I just want to relay back to a comment that Laura Gibson made earlier about the fact that there will always, you have to accept that as being part of any reality and communication, part of the communication process when you bring forward any initiative. It's been well established. This is a provincially regulated process, the procurement process. If there are local businesses who want to register and be a part of that, there is a webpage. And there is a process. Michelle, Zvi, is there any other dialogue or support moving forward on this that's required? Any next steps?
As we said, we will certainly promote things more and make sure that the public is aware of things that we're doing that will require procurement. But to Helene's point, sometimes things are based on cost alone, but often they are based on a scoring system. What experience do you have? Can you show us past jobs? Have you worked on targeting this particular market? It'd be like me saying, I need somebody in Norfolk that has deep expertise attracting people from Quebec. Right? If I said that, if I frame it that way, it's not about knowing Norfolk. It's about attracting people from Quebec and understanding Quebecers. And so, do you have that experience? So, really, we will promote these things, but to some of the discussion here, we want the best outcome for the community because the broader outcome way supersedes the impact compared to the impact of somebody local getting a job. if we get the best possible outcome, and that may be somebody local, but it may also not be somebody local, and we want a fair, transparent process as dictated by the province, but also we want the best possible outcome, and that's how we'll go forward.
Well, this will be perspective. What department does this go lend itself to regarding establishing the communication piece?
Sorry, can you ask that again?
What department would follow up on establishing the communication piece? Is this the communication department? Is this yourself? Does this get passed along? So we don't recycle this conversation the next time you have a procurement process?
Yeah, so for our part in economic development, when we have projects, we will put information out on social and as I committed to this morning to chambers of commerce and BIAs, we will let them know. We may even send memos to council and say, hey, council, we're working on this project. Please share this with your constituents. So we'll get the word out. But more globally speaking, I do think that communications may consider, we'll see the new director come in and what his or her opinion will be, but it may be worthwhile once in a while to remind the community, hey, we have a web page here on the Norfolk County website with all of the purchases that the county is engaged in. You should check in from time to time.
And I think that is the broad brush stroke that this is representing. It's not just about laying this on your shoulders and just ECDEV. It's about every department and every purchase. It's that snow blower. And we have Chantel, and then we have Helene. Chantel?
While it's good to promote, you know, to let people in the area know what opportunities there are, as a business owner, it's on my shoulders to seek business. At Zortec, daily we check MERCs, we check bids and tenders, looking for opportunities. No one's spoon feeding it to us.
Well said.
Just a comment.
Helene?
I 100% agree with that. That was kind of one of my reactions, was same thing. In Toronto, we used to check all of those. Like, we actually, not everyone has an intern to check all of those websites on the daily, but it is your responsibility. But more what I was going to say is, Zvi, in terms of, it's always brutal coming up with enough content to keep your channels going, but you can park that one as the have you checked bids and tenders today as one of your fillers that you can put out every couple weeks to remind people.
Absolutely.
Then you can check off an empty box on your content calendar.
Right.
Well said. Thank you. Chantel, your hand's still up. Any further comment on it? Okay. No more discussion on the bids and tenders? Fantastic. And our final item on the agenda is Celebrate Ontario. And that was Cindy who added that.
It's just an email that just came in today because, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows about Celebrate Ontario, but it's called Reconnect Festival and Event Program. So it looks like they're even trying to come up with alternative ways that events can be rolled out. Should I just send the email, or like, Jacob, did you get it, or should I send it to you for people, or?
You're more than welcome to send it to me. I can definitely make sure that gets to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for chambers and nonprofits and all that, and we might need a little bit of entertainment around here.
Are there tools affiliated with that, Cindy?
It's a whole big email. There's even some sessions to log on to see what it's all about. I'm sure they're going to give examples and things, and then the different levels that you can apply for. Oh, there you go. Someone already did it.
Okay.
Perfect.
My husband does
$9
this
million,
for a living, so it's at my fingertips.
Yeah, thank you.
We've restarted our newsletter,
thank you very much.
So we'll share that through our newsletter as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I saw those last couple emails. I was so happy to see the new stuff, and it was like really useful information coming out in the newsletters. It was great.
Yeah, I'm happy it's back for sure.
Well, look at that. We engaged so much. There was a lot of conversation, and we're not done yet because Michelle has her hand up. So go, Michelle.
We used to do this thing last year. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like good news at the end. What was it called, Wanda?
Hot topics.
Hot topics. So I've got a hot topic to end this on a good note. Next week, Norfolk County is moving to phase 2 of the vaccine rollout. They have done such a great job at the county. The facilities they have is so great. The capacity they've hit is so great. It's just awesome. So good news note, Norfolk County is like excelling at their vaccine rollout program, and the health unit is doing a fantastic job.
What's
Yeah, I'll
phase
just
2
echo
mean?
that. My father-in-law
Phase
had
2?
it done the first day, and it was amazing.
Yeah, phase
Yeah,
2
I have
is
to
going
say.
from age 70 to 70. Wait, no, 60 to 79 in 5-year brackets plus 4 like higher risk categories. So like I'd expect they'll hit 60 in probably a month kind of thing, which is amazing. And I have seen other than anti-vaxxers, I have seen only positive feedback online, which is awesome. Every single person that comments had a great experience at their vaccine appointment. It's just like fantastic.
I can say on a personal note, yeah, Hugo is very well run, and I've heard nothing but great things about Norfolk General Hospital too, so that's great.
Well, thank you very much for ending it on a high note, Michelle, and for sharing. Councillor Van Passen, will we see you next meeting, or will there be another councillor appointed? Have we chased you away?
I have accepted Councillor Taylor's offer to replace him on this, and but that has to be approved by council. But I have told the councillors right from day one that my flexible schedule sort of allows me. So we had a bunch of new councillors who are interested in joining different committees to learn some things, but sometimes it just doesn't fit their work schedules. And I'm a little bit more flexible on my work schedule, so I can just get up sooner in the morning or go to bed later at night and still get the work done. Tractors got lights on them, they can do whatever they want. So I made the offer right from day one that any councillor who finds himself in a problem with their schedules, let me know, and I will always switch out and do something else. So I've accepted the offer to stay here, and after this evening, I don't think I want to give it up anyway. So a great group to work with.
Well, thank you everyone for your valuable input. I truly enjoyed tonight's meeting. Stay well until we meet again. With the emails, feel free to reply to all if there's any discussion that you feel you'd like to start between the meetings. We do have some emails that will be circulated. Reach out to me as chair if there's anything that I can do to assist you, if you have something on your wish list. And be well. And have a great night. Thank you for your time.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Go have some green beer or green wine now.
Yeah, or Irish
Bye,
coffee.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.